everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I am a part-time reseller on Poshmark. Today I want to talk about things that are killing your reselling business and things that you should definitely change and stop doing. These are things that are going to help you have way more success on Poshmark or any other platform that you're on. So I hope that these tips help you, but let's get started. So one of the most important things that I can note to people to stop doing on any platform that they are on is to stop having bad photos. This is so important and people don't understand, but it really does go such a long way to have good photos. When I, make those videos, I make the reasons your listings aren't selling videos like once a month now. And a lot of the times, most of the reasons why I take, a certain listing and talk about it in a video is because the photo is not good, it's bad lighting, the item is wrinkled, the background is distracting, and so there's so many different things that can be wrong with a photo. And so it's so important to make sure that the photos are good and the cover photo stands out. And I can't stress enough how important this is. And a lot of people go and ask me, does it really matter if the background is white or can it be a neutral? And it really doesn't matter as long as it's a neutral or a white background. Google does give priority to listings with white backgrounds. However, they are starting to give priority to, neutral backgrounds as well. But all I can recommend is that you just have a very neutral and plain background. I think that's going to help you sell your items a lot better. And it really just makes it so much less distracting and it makes it look so much more professional. So if you have a white wall that you could take your photos against, or if you have, a backdrop or something like that, I highly recommend using those. Make sure you're taking the photos in good lighting and make sure that the item is not wrinkled or anything like that. It goes such a long way and it makes a huge difference in terms of how long the item will sit and if it will sell quickly. So make sure that those photos are good, make sure that they're descriptive and you're really covering every part of the item in the pictures, and make sure that you're adding measurements and the material tags and stuff like that. Those all really help sell the item quicker. And piggybacking off of having good photos, the next thing that you should really stop doing that's really hurting your reselling business is to not have good descriptions. Descriptions also go such a long way because they help describe the item in ways that you couldn't describe in the pictures. So you could add the written measurements in the descriptions, you can add colors, textures, materials, if there's any flaws, how it fits, if it's a boxy fit, if it's a cropped fit, if it's a baggy fit, if it's an oversized fit. There are so many ways to describe an item, and it's so important to make sure that you use those keywords and describe the item. Maybe say if it's vintage, say what era it's from, or maybe if it's an animal print, maybe describe the animal print that it is. Maybe if it's a thinner material, describe if it's sheer. There's so many different ways to describe an item, and it really helps to be descriptive. I see a lot of issues with people that are putting like a one-line sentence in their description and just saying like, this is a new with tag. And it doesn't really help when you do that because it's not helping describe the item. And I actually find that like when I'm shopping on a website or if I'm shopping on Poshmark or anywhere and I just see, new with tag, it doesn't really help me want to buy the item because I don't know what I'm getting into. And I personally am a material snob, so I have to have my materials be nice and smooth. And so if I'm buying an item and I don't know the material, I'm not going to purchase it because I really can't stand when materials aren't good. So it's really important to provide those details because you don't realize how many people you are shying away by not having those good descriptions. So really take the time to describe the item in as much detail as possible and make sure that you're very forward with the customers. And think about any kind of question that the customer could have and answer that in the description so they don't have to come with questions and comment on the listing, and it will take longer for the item to sell by doing that. So basically cover anything that you would be interested in knowing and put that in the descriptions. Think about if you were buying it, what would you want to know, and add that in, and it will help really, really sell the item quicker. The next really, really big, key, important thing to make sure that you start doing that, like maybe you aren't doing already, is just make sure that you're sourcing the right inventory. So this took me a lot of time to realize that like a lot of things that I were sourcing were not really good, or they weren't good brands anymore, or they weren't like styles that people were looking for, or maybe I thought they were good brands, but they weren't. And I had to learn over the years of reselling that, like, the brands that are in come in and out of style, or, certain styles come in and out of style, or, anything like that. And this is a big lesson that I've learned this year, where I've been trying to sell a lot of pieces that I purchased my first year of reselling. And it's taken me over 3 years now to sell those items. And some of them I am still selling. So a lot of those I thought, like, okay, well, this is a good brand, I'll pick it up. But just because it's a good brand retail doesn't mean it's going to be a good brand resell. And so it's really important to make sure that you know that distinction, and make sure you don't just pick up a brand because you like the brand or you think it's a good brand to sell. Make sure you do your research, because I ended up picking up so many brands that I thought were really good that ended up just sitting for so long, and I ended up having to sell them at a very low cost just to get rid of them. So make sure that you are, sourcing the right inventory, and make sure that you are sourcing things that people actually want. Don't just fill your closet with a bunch of junk, because that's not going to help the items sell. And so do your research, see what's selling online, look up what's trending. Every single month, Poshmark releases a statement of what's trending on Poshmark, and it also lets you know what brands are trending. And I'm sure you could look up on other platforms what is trending and what brands to look for, but I highly recommend using that, because that's going to help you determine what pieces would actually really sell and what pieces that you should be looking for, instead of just kind of going into it blindly, just picking up anything, because it's really important to have the right inventory, and that's what's going to help you sell those items quicker. The next thing that is killing your reselling business is not paying the right prices. This is another lesson that I had to learn over the years, where when I first started sourcing, I was paying a lot more per item. My average cost of goods per item was a lot higher than it is today. And so that was hurting me, because I wasn't able to sell those items as high. And a lot of those items I had to kind of sell at the bare minimum just to make even on those items to get rid of them. So I think it's so important to be careful with what you are paying for each item. And a lot of the times, at least now, like, a lot of the Goodwills are really catching up to resellers, and the Goodwill prices are just through the roof. They're kind of insane. I actually just went to a Goodwill that opened up in my town yesterday. It's only home goods right now, but I went to it and, like, a plate was $5.99. And so it's just, the prices are really, really high. But the best thing I could recommend doing is taking advantage of those opportunities where you could get things for cheaper costs. So some Goodwills do dollar days on Sundays or some other day during the week. So if you go that day, anything of that color is going to be $1. And so it's a way better deal than paying a regular price for it. In the beginning of this year, I used to go to the Goodwill quite often, actually, and get things on dollar day, and I would just stack up and get the colors that were on sale for $1, and I would get like upwards of 50 items in each go, and full price, those items would have cost me $5, $6, $7 each. And so I would have to work a lot harder to flip those items for a profit. But then when I get them for $1, it's a lot easier to flip and make a profit on. So I highly recommend finding those solutions. Maybe your Goodwill has, 50% off days, and even that is better than paying the regular price. So definitely do your research and see if you could get your inventory cheaper. I also recommend, if you have a bins location near you, this is just a Goodwill outlet. It's basically where they take all the items from Goodwill and dump them into these massive blue bins, and you just have to kind of pick through and find what you want. It could be a really good experience. I've always found really great items, and I really recommend it because you pay by the pound. And so in this case, you're paying for like a lot of pounds worth of items for like $1 per item or less than $1 per item, just depending on what you end up getting. So I went to the bins 2 weekends ago and I got 60 pounds worth of clothes, and I paid a way cheaper price than I would at, Goodwill or anywhere like that. So that is another great option, and you get in bulk at that at those kind of locations. So that's even better too, because then you don't have to like spend as much time. You could just get a bunch of things all at once. And then the final way that I would really recommend getting cheaper inventory is just reaching out to family and friends for donations, or if they want you to sell their stuff for them at like a lower cost. That is also a great way to get inventory to sell. I actually get bags and bags from family and friends all the time who are just looking to give me stuff to sell that they don't want anymore. And so that also helps me keep my costs low, because I'm getting donations from people that, probably don't want that much for their stuff, if not anything for their stuff. So I highly recommend keeping those costs as low as possible, and you're going to find that you're going to be able to make a profit more on these items, and you're going to be able to, succeed more with your reselling business with the lower costs. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about today in this video that is killing your reselling business is not changing with the times. So if you are stuck in your ways of how you were able to get your inventory back when you first started, or the brands that you were picking up when you first started, or the costs that you were paying when you first started, these are all things that are really going to affect your reselling business and make it really hard for you to succeed. And a good example of this for me actually is I was getting a lot of clothes and inventory from, in particular, people in my town. And I was working with them kind of in like a consignment way of, I would sell their items, but I would give them whatever money they were looking for, and then I would try and sell them. And I realized that that's just not the way I want to, run my business anymore, because I'm trying to keep my costs as low as possible. So I had to kind of shift a little bit and change up how I was getting my inventory, because I was paying a premium for those items to help them, ensure that they would get the money that they wanted. And so I found that that was not working out for me, because I had to pay a lot for the items and I wasn't able to sell them at nearly at the price that I would wanted to. And so I wouldn't be making a profit. So for me, I decided that I wanted to make 50% more on anything that I purchase, or I want to make double on the things that I purchase. So if I purchase something for $1, I need to at least make $2 on it to be content. But obviously I want to make more than $2, but that's just the math. Like, I want to double the cost that I pay for anything. And so I've been very picky with the items that I've been picking up recently. I've only been picking up things that are pretty cheap. I get things at the Goodwill on Dollar Day, and I also get things at the bins for practically $1. So my costs per item is very low. On average, this year, it's probably been around $1. So it's so important for me, because that's going to ensure that I have more success and I make more money. And so I highly recommend making sure that you keep up with the times, maybe change the brands that you are sourcing. Maybe the brands that you had sourced when you first started are no longer, good, or maybe they're not what you thought they were. Or maybe you're stuck with just going to the Goodwill to get your inventory, but maybe you should try different avenues to get stuff. There are so many ways that you can improve and change with the times, and that's going to help you really have more success with your reselling business. So I highly recommend switching it up. Maybe try something new. Maybe try going to a different kind of thrift store. Maybe, try posting on Facebook in your town. And see if anyone wants to donate to you, or maybe just look on Facebook Marketplace for free items. There are so many good ways to get things, and there are so many different things to try, and I highly recommend trying new things. You might find your new favorite way to get inventory. So that is a wrap on today's video. I hope these tips helped you, with how you can change things that you are doing with your reselling business now, maybe things that are holding you back from having more success. These are all things that I think will really help you make a difference and have a huge impact on your reselling businesses. So let me know down below if you've started implementing any of these changes, or which one you think you want to try first. If you want to see how July was for me in terms of sales and in terms of, how the month was, what I sold, and everything like that, you can click right here. And if you want to see some reselling hacks that you should definitely try that are gonna really help you have more success with reselling, but also just be cool things that you haven't probably already tried, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.